Welcome into the Off Central podcast. We are here again with our very good friend, Mr. Shane Willard, and your wonderful host, Jonathan Prado.
Come on, man. You do a good job.
Thank you. I paid him $5 to say that.
You do a great job. I do these all over the world.
And I'm the best.
You're very good at it.
That's so kind of you, Shane. And you are present.
Come on.
Bowls and Birthrights. We've been in a series called Rewritten, and as a church, it's been phenomenal for us. There's so much in it, and you've done a sermon. I've heard this a couple of times now on bowls and birthrights, and the first question I have is Jacob manipulative?
You'd say so. I think
maybe let's give some context into the story for those of us who are tuning in.
So the bigger story is that we need a better filter for decision making, other than is it right or wrong, right? Because if we only consider what's right and what's wrong, we can ruin our lives, because there's a lot of things that aren't wrong. They're just not wise. They're dumb. They're not useful. I mean, frankly, obviously, the worst filter for decision-making ever is being a psychopath, right? So if you're just a psychopath, we would encourage you to take your next step, right?
Find healing.
Yeah. And then the next step would be a sociopath, which is similar to a psychopath, but a psychopath actually takes pleasure in intentionally harming someone. A sociopath kind of doesn't care.
They're just selfish.
They're just, and unaware, and it's still horrendous. And then past that is apathy. So you see that path word, apathy would be indifference. Like whatever will be, no intentionality at all. And then, and of course, if you're finding yourself in those three categories, which a certain percentage of people.
Well, yes. Two of them, not so much, but apathy is certainly a real issue, particularly if you're addicted to something, because addiction has a way of narrowing down the things that you enjoy to just that one thing. Yeah. And you become extremely apathetic about the rest. So if you find yourself not enjoying going out for a walk or doing the things that you used to enjoy, the question I always ask people is, what are you addicted to that only brings you joy now?
Yes. Yeah, this is not a neuroscience podcast, but your brain works on reward mechanisms. And if you're addicted to something at the expense of finding pleasure in everything else, like your brain is rewarding you somehow in such a way that you've lost sight of. And that could be, obviously, drugs. More common than that would be like people, like having a drink is one thing. Like, I can't wait to drink.
Yeah.
I
it's
can't.
A whole different mindset.
Can't wait to drink,
Right.
That's a whole different thing.
Right.
Or I have to drink is past that. So, or it could be something that it would be harder to confront, like work. Like I just work. Oh, okay. So at the expense of where else do you get pleasure? And so you see people who used to have pleasure in this, and this, and could be fully present in each of it. Yeah. And now suddenly they could only be fully present in their drinking or in this thing that they've given themselves to, or into their job, or whatever the case may be. So that could be a form of apathy. Right. And then past that is, at least I'm considering what's right and wrong. And honestly, if that's as far as we get, it's not bad. It's not the most profound way. And actually, it gets exposed early in the Genesis narrative, where the talking snake talks about this tree of knowledge of good and evil. And the lie is that you can master life by mastering right and wrong. And no, you can't, for two reasons at least. One, neuroscience. If you make 100 good decisions and you make one bad one, you will obsess about the one place you got it wrong. That's one. Two, it doesn't ask more profound questions like wisdom, utility, intentionality. It just says, well, it's not wrong. And there's a lot of things that aren't immoral. They're not causing intentional harm, but they're certainly not the path for your life. Right. Like a common one, I don't see this so much in America, but I see this in Australia. A common one is this, Americans don't really want to travel.
It's true.
They don't. Why would they travel?
Yeah.
Like,
Have
you looked around?
It's a big, exactly. When I was growing up, I think like 50% of Americans didn't own a passport.
Right. Like
that stat may have changed.
I don't know what the stat is, but
yeah.
I know the mindset is, and I never realized, I grew up in America. I never realized that we were not normal, so you go to Australia and there's this almost visceral DNA level itch to travel,
explore.
Yeah. But you'll talk to a 19-year-old in Australia, and with a straight face, they'll be like, I'm thinking about taking a year off, go walk around Europe. Why would you do that? Oh, I'm going to find myself, You're like, okay. And I'm just thinking, my white Southern fundamentalist background, if I'd have told my dad, I'm taking a year off to find myself. My dad. Actually, I don't even think that's a thing. Like, could you imagine? I think it's an issue of age. Could you imagine if you're over 40, telling your father that you were going to take a year off
to backpack
to do anything?
that wasn't related to making money.
Oh my word! My dad would have been like, "Oh, there you are. I have found you. Get a job, right?
Grow up."
Yeah. My parents. I mean, when it came to university, they let me live in the house as long as I had A's and B's. Oh, yeah. But if you go to university and get a C, you can pay rent now because you're wasting our money, right?
At least they were clear.
No, it was not ambiguous.
No, yeah.
No. So,
but to your point, but nothing wrong with backpacking around Europe for a year. There's nothing morally wrong with it. You don't look at that and go, "Oh my gosh, they're living a debaucherous life."
No, really not at all. But it's not wise. It's not the best. It's like if it costs you $20,000, which I'm going really cheap there.
Right. Well, if you're the daughter of a billionaire, maybe whatever.
Maybe.
But if you are broke,
if you need to make your way in life,
right,
and you took $20,000, and instead of going to Europe, you put it in an S&P 500 index fund. Yeah. And you didn't even add to it from 19 to 65. I think it's over $600,000. Like, so you're not considering the whole cost of something. You're just considering the temporary cost of something. Mm-hmm. And so this is much more profound. And the right and wrong thing gets very easy to rationalize things as not wrong. When is this wise? Is this useful? Is this intentional? Actually, is a better filter for good decision making. And so I wanted to put together thought on this in this Rewritten series, because the Rewritten series is basically a 5-week commitment to posture our life towards God's willingness to retell all of our stories, regardless of how broken they might be. That essentially the story of our life is not on repeat unless we want it to stay on repeat. Yeah. There's a way for that story to be retold. And so we talked a lot about taking responsibility and not blaming, that to the level we blame is the level we disempower ourselves from going forward, even if the blame is legit. Right? So let's say someone was abused. Them blaming their parents for their abuse is legit. But at some point, you have to go, yes, that is my story. That is heinous. That is unacceptable. That is atrocious. No one should have been put in that situation. But I'm 35, and I am changing my family tree going forward, right? And so we talked a bit about that. We talked a bit about God's commitment to retell all things. The word Paul used is to bring all things back under one head in Ephesians. We talked about handling failure and regret well. And this week, we talked about making better decisions. And so the passage you're referencing is from Genesis, because this filter for decision making that I think is more profound is found early in the narrative, and it's about an encounter between two brothers. One's named Jacob, one named Esau, and they're having an encounter that climaxes over a particular context around a bowl of stew. Mm-hmm. And the short story is that Jacob is cooking the stew. Esau comes in, and the text indicates that he was so hungry he thought he could die, which obviously is an exaggeration. He walked in.
We've all said that.
Yeah, I'm about to die. I'm so hungry.
I can eat an elephant.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's been out hunting, and he's been doing his whatever
so
he does.
He's very hungry.
He's hungry. He's probably thirsty.
Yeah.
He comes in the smell of the stew that's been cooking.
Yes.
You can picture the scene.
Yes, and so he asked Jacob for stew, and Jacob picks up on the
desperation,
the focus, the lack of perspective.
Right.
That the word, actually the Hebrew word translated iniquity is avon, which has 3 letters, which in the ancient language had pictures, and so it's an eye, a hook, and then fish multiplying, and so when the ancient Hebrew people read the word iniquity, they read whatever your eye hooks to multiplies.
Oh, that's so helpful. Most people, when they think of iniquity, they think of a failing or a shortcoming.
No, this is about what you look at.
And I love that's what your eye gets hooked to.
Yeah, and it multiplies. The word for them that you're referencing would be transgression.
Right.
That's when you actually do something. Yeah. So if you think of it in their frame of reference, is sin or failing has 3 categories to it. So you have iniquity, which starts with the eye. Sin, which is when you're drawn away and enticed by something. So if you put that in order, like my eye hooks to something, my need irrationally grows for that thing. At some point that turns into a lust and I'm enticed. At that point I'm sinning. I still haven't done anything. It's all here and here.
Which is Jesus' point that
correct.
Sin starts in the heart.
Correct. Transgression, those when actually do it. Right. So the easiest example of that would be, say, lust or like a sexual affair or something. The eye hooks to the person. Yeah. You start telling lies in yourself about your need for them. You get dopamine going. Boom, boom, boom. It's called limerence. It's the involuntary rush of dopamine in your brain when you're in the presence of somebody, and you just get irrationally addicted to them. At some point, that turns into a lust. Whenever that is, who knows? But it happens in the heart. You're enticed. That's sin. Transgression is when you actually do something. And so what happens in this story is iniquity. His eye hooks to this bowl of stew, and he is enticed by it to the point where he's willing to sell everything he could be for one bowl, for one meal. That's going to be gone in 4 hours. You'll need another one. And so this is why in the Old Testament scriptures and the New Testament scriptures and in rabbinical literature, Esau's the most, like the person that you don't ever want to be. He's considered the most godless person, which is confronting because the Bible's full of nefarious characters.
Right.
Like in Hebrews it says, see to it that no one is godless like Esau. Well, that's Hebrews 12. Hebrews 11 is all these people that made worse mistakes, right?
Right.
Abraham, like just think about it from a modern moral compass thing.
Yeah.
Who did more wrong things, Abraham or Esau?
Yeah.
Abraham by far.
Yeah.
Gave his wife to Pharaoh's harem, profited from Egyptian influence while she was suffering in the harem.
Sure.
Isaac did something similar. Moses was a premeditated murderer. Samson lost a bet and killed 30 people. That is significantly more immoral.
Right. Esau seems to just be guilty of not really understanding the depth of the birthright, or just kind of think it was just a few words here and there, and I don't know. Or is he fully aware? Yeah. Like, no, I know I'm giving up my entire birthright when I'm doing this, or is he just kind of not really reading the situation well?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure the text even
seems to take it lightly.
Yeah, he seems to take it very, very lightly, to the point where, the writer of Hebrews, whoever that was, could have said, "See to it that no one's godless like Ahab."
Yeah, so many
Jezebel. Yeah, who. Poor Jezebel. They've had a field day with her forever.
Exactly. Like when we think of the evil people from Scripture or the mistakes in Scripture, I've never heard anybody immediately hone in on Esau.
Like the most immoral people are the ones who, because we read ourselves back into the story, And it's really confronting because the writer of Hebrews puts David in this list of heroes.
Right. David's horrific.
Incredibly immoral. Solomon, even more immoral. And people tend to think of Solomon as sexually immoral, and okay, but he was worse than that. It says in the book of Kings, this is the account of the slave labor that Solomon forced to build the temple to honor God. Yeah. Like, oh my gosh. So a guy that comes from a lineage of freed slaves is now forcing slaves to build the temple to honor the God who frees slaves. Like, right? And so...
And this is the man who wrote the book on wisdom.
Correct, right. And so the point is that Abraham, David, Isaac, Jephthah, Samson, Solomon, they would be invited to the biggest Christian conferences and, hey, give your testimony at least, right?
Yeah.
But maybe but they would be just disqualified. Like imagine those people in a YouTube heresy hunter exposure world. It's like,
yeah. By today's standards, they would certainly be disqualified.
Well, there's no amount of how sorry you could be that would be enough.
No, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you got that. But Esau traded his birthright for a bowl of stew. You regret it, tell your story. Amen. Right. Learn from him.
Yeah.
Let his life be a cautionary tale to you, But in the scriptures, when they talk about godlessness, Esau.
So help me connect those dots. Why godless? Why do they describe him as that way? Careless, I can understand. Dumb, but why use that word?
So my understanding is that the word godless, the word translated godless, is the same word we get the word profane from, or the word despise from.
Okay, yeah.
Right? So in the Genesis story, in Genesis 25-ish, it says, so Esau despised his birthright. And so that's a related word to the word profane.
Yeah.
And then that's a related word to the word godless. So the word godless isn't being used as God was absent from his life. Right. I think it was more used as he lived unaware of the privilege of having 24-hour gift of God's breath on his life. Yeah. So he profaned. He lived in a profane way. Yeah. So they had a way of thinking that the name of God was breath. So, and you're gifted with this breath. And as long as you're gifted with this breath, you're alive. And if you're not gifted with this breath, you're dead. So in that sense, God is holding all things together. Yeah. Even someone that can't name him, and at some most basic level. So there was two ways to live postured toward that. One is hallowing the name, which would be a way of saying, I commit my life to fulfilling the full possibilities, potentials that the gift of breath brings. Yeah. The other would be profaning it, which would be using my breath to harm, or even more basic, using my breath
to do nothing.
Or
just to serve my own interests or whatever, yeah.
So whoever wrote Hebrews references this godlessness. And then you would be thinking, if you're reasonable, you'd be thinking, well, maybe the writer of Hebrews had access to a story we don't have, because the only story we have is he traded his birthright for a thing of stew, later had a chance to kill Jacob and didn't. They had a meal together. Godless, right? Yeah. But in that context, if you postured your life every day towards the gift of breath on my life is only as important as me getting my next urge. So because we don't, in our world, we don't have an equivalent to birthright. We have inheritance. But in their world, it was way bigger than that because there was no court of records. There was no, who owns this? We do. Prove it.
Sure.
Right? So a birthright, and like in Esau's position, he would have been responsible for marrying all of his brother's wives should they die. That was called kinsman redeemer. Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of responsibility. And so essentially the word birthright was a summary statement of everything you could be, all your responsibilities. And Esau makes this statement: what good is the birthright to me if I don't get that bowl?
Yeah.
That's where the rabbis
right. It's the narrative we all tell ourselves when our eye is hooked on something or we're lusting after something. What
Yeah.
good is my life?
What good is my life if I don't get that?
If I can't have her,
That cake,
I can't have
that drink,
right,
that shirt.
right.
And so what I encourage people to do is instead of only considering right and wrong, don't stop considering right and wrong. That makes you a psychopath, right? But instead of only considering right and wrong, consider, does this decision I'm fixing to make, does it belong to the permanent, the birthright, or a temporary urge? Because the truth of it is that one day we'll be 87, hopefully. I don't want to wish too many people into the 95 range, and some people can handle it, most can't. Mm-hmm. But at the end of your life, you'll look back and your life will be one of two narratives. I woke up every day intentionally pursuing everything I could be in God. And along the way, I made mistakes. People who are active are going to make more mistakes than people who are apathetic. That's just by nature of having more opportunities.
Sure. They're going to play more hands.
Right. So, the writer of Hebrews, I'll at least say it this way with some confidence, but yet humility. To the writer of Hebrews, it seems that it wasn't the summation of the mistakes a person made that made them faithful. Otherwise, the way he wrote it makes no sense.
Right.
Because does he have access to another story? Maybe, but the story he references in Hebrews 12 is, he says, don't be godless like Esau, who for a single meal sold his inheritance rights to his oldest son. So he's referencing the same
story we're reading, yeah.
Yeah. So evidently it wasn't a summation of failure. It was a posture of the heart towards hallowing the name.
Man.
So
for so many people, this is such a big blind spot in the way that we treat other people, the way we think about and characterize our own lives and success and failure, particularly in our relationship with God. I do this time and time again. I think of my life constantly I think of the failures in my own life, character flaws towards God, and I summarize my walk in discipleship and health of my relationship by those failures.
Yeah.
Rather than I can't exactly how you said it, by hallowing the name of God, how I choose to use my breath to come to play another hand.
Right. Well, I like the way Jacques Philippe says it. I don't have the quote in front of me, but basically he says the Christian tradition is if you won today, like you had a successful thing today, get up tomorrow, re-surrender to Christ, and win again. If you failed today, like you thoroughly stuff stuff up, wake up tomorrow, surrender to Christ, and start again. Yeah. That the godless ones are the ones who aren't using their breath for anything other than their next urge. And so the apathetic ones will make less mistakes in functional total, but they're actually, godless. Whereas, I think a good way to say it is, at the end of our life will have one of two narratives. One is I woke up every day intentionally pursuing everything the gift of God's breath has for me. And along the way, I made mistakes. Or, unfortunately, my life lived from one urge to the next, 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 to the next. And when we live for our urges, right or wrong is less of an issue. They just overpromise and underdeliver. And God is faithful to forgive us every time. That's not the question. The question is the quality of our life.
Yeah. And that comes back to our original point, especially when we give into our urges. It's the narrowing of enjoyment, the narrowing of satisfaction to only the specific thing.
Yeah.
It ruins our life. Like you said, it totally underdelivers, because as soon as you get a hold of that bowl of stew, it's over in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But Jacob gets the birthright forever. Yeah. And his lineage, it all comes through him.
And this thing marked Esau. It's a subtle thing. In Genesis 25, it says, so they changed his name to Edom, which is a Jewish joke. You don't see it in English, because what he says when he comes in is, in English it says, give me red stew. In Hebrew it just says, give me ha-adam, like the red. Like it was more caveman-y, like the red. Like, ooh, the red. And so they changed his name. So Adam is red, Edom is red man. So he does this really stupid thing, profoundly dumb.
Yeah.
And he and so they give him a nickname that, like, it's kind of like if you ever known someone who made a mistake so bad that all of his peers gave him a nickname that it just stuck, you know. That's what happened here. Like, hey, Edom, hey, are you that dipstick that sold everything he could be for one bowl of hot Adam? How's that going, Edom?
Hot Adam, yeah. Lentil stew.
Yeah. So again, something you could do in a Southern accent that if you did that in a British accent would sound cruel.
This wouldn't work out.
Like, hey, Edom.
Hello, Edom.
It just sounds so much
Did you
worse.
sell your birthright for some stew, little Edom?
Yeah, it just sounds cruel.
Yeah, it doesn't quite work, does it?
And if you did it in Scottish, it would be worse.
I couldn't even attempt that.
Could you imagine that? But that's so the goal is if we pursue birthrights instead of the bowl, it just leads us to a better life. And we tend to read the Bible as the hero, not the villain. I think the Bible's best read as the villain. And what I mean by that is if we read the Bible and go, that guy sold his entire future for one bowl of stew.
Yes. Yeah.
I would never do that.
And the whole point of the story is you do that every single day. You make
we have a choice to.
Well, yeah, we have a choice to or choice not to, but who doesn't give in to their urges at some point every single day? We're constantly fighting it. It's a constant battle. Now, they might be small and insignificant. Yeah. They might be really, really big and have catastrophic effects. Yeah. But as Christians, we tend to judge people by their transgressions.
Right, not the iniquity.
Not the iniquity of the eye. And we it's very easy to judge somebody else's transgressions because there's the action without exploring the iniquity in our own hearts.
Correct.
Which is your point, to read ourselves as the villain of the story.
Yeah, we're always the crucified person, never the crucifier.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, we're never Jonah.
We're Peter. We're never the guy who's actually arresting Jesus.
No, right.
We're standing right next to him, defending him. Like, this is us.
And that's another thing. Peter gets a bad rap. He denies Jesus 3 times, but he was the only one there. Where's everybody else? Right? So, you know, you have all that, but the truth of it is like have we ever given up something really important like financial peace for one more shirt? Of course we you go to a mall and all it is ha-adam. So it's just bowl.
That's so funny. People should walk around more with that phrase.
Ha-adam.
Like new phone, ha-adam. New
car. Well, the car is a great example. Like guys will understand this more than women in the sense that guys get car fever at a higher rate, right? So,
well, we seek status and identity from it.
Yeah. So car fever is the irrational desire to drive something new, while rationalizing it as I need something more reliable. That's
or safe.
Yeah, that's car fever. And so my mom was in the car business for 54 years, right? So
she saw this 1,000 million times.
So you go, okay, you're going to buy something you can't afford with money you don't have to impress people you don't like, and you're going to pay 7% interest for the right to own something losing 50% of its value in 3.5 years, right?
I've got to practice that line. That's funny.
This sounds like a good idea. You're laying in bed at night, and the loudest voice is the fear of not having financial peace, and the knowledge you don't have financial peace. I was like, why is Satan attacking my finances? What? Look in your driveway. Right. Are you serious? It's ha-adam. It's and you go. The worst place to go if you have a car fever is a car lot. Because all the sales, now you could kind of browse the internet, and that now your eye hooks, it gets worse. You see pictures of your friends driving better cars than you. You know, you're like, I wonder what they're thinking about me. They're not thinking about you. They're too self-absorbed themselves. Are you serious? Yeah. So and then you go to a car lot, and that salesman's just walking around,
safety, reliability.
Chicks dig the V8. You know, and that $1,150 car payment, you're not going to be able to afford to take them anywhere. They're going to love that. You know, and so it's almost like they have a car lumbar fever thermometer. You know, they just don't tell you it's rectal. You know, so then you buy something you can't afford with money you don't have to impress people you don't like, and you're losing years of investment opportunity by giving it to Ford Motor Credit or Chrysler Financial or TD Auto Finance or whoever, you know. And it's like they're clever. They put the first payment off 45 days, and so by the time the newness wears off, is when the payment's due, and you're like, I'm paying how much for this?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So we do it that way. We do it with obviously lustful things, but even to get off that, like eating.
Yeah.
You know you're severely overweight. Your doctor is telling you you're pre-diabetic and you're at risk for heart disease. But your thing is cake, you know.
Yeah.
And so you open the fridge, man, there it is.
Ha-adam.
And you're like, I'll die if I don't get the sugar hit, right?
Yeah.
And people feel this way.
Absolutely. Oh, that's why I mean we fight this all the time, every day, whether we give into it or not. Is it fair to say though that the eye hooks to something, and then we use this sort of imagination to kind of seed and birth something in our hearts that can be used for evil, also be used for good, and the good is the solution in some way. That okay, you want to get healthy. The goal is to begin to fix your eye and your imagination and your mentality around
the right thing,
exercise or walking or the right shoe wear that you need to be able to do that, and fitness instructors, and you can surround yourself with that culture, that environment, those people, right. and build that in your spirit and in your
gratitude
heart as well.
Like just simple fixing your eyes on, okay, so here's a good exercise, right? With rare exceptions, there are exceptions, but with rare exceptions, if God never did anything for any of us, if he didn't do anything else for any of us,
sure, our
life's good.
Yeah.
And so what happens is when we fix our eyes on the one thing we don't have, the forbidden fruit, and we lose sight of the whole garden, right? And so 10 times a day for 10 seconds, stop and only be thankful for what's in your right now. This isn't about believing for the future. That's not unhealthy. I think we should have a vision for where we're going and all that. But just 10 times a day for 10 seconds, thankfulness, mindful thankfulness for what's in my right now. Man, how powerful would that be?
Yeah.
You know, and then the second thing I would say is resist the urge to look right and left. That's a metaphor for comparing. Yeah. So what happens is when we look right and left to get our value, we get stuck in the land of bigger, better, richer, fitter, right? And the problem is if we look right, we feel inferior. If we look left, we feel superior. It doesn't help us.
Neither of them are helpful.
Yeah, and the problem isn't getting richer or fitter, because the problem is stop compare, because even if you get you'll never be est, right? So if, let's say you get richer, are you richest?
Yeah.
There's always somebody with something more than you.
So is it the motivation that's the underlying issue? Like that, what's the driving force behind that? Is that the problem?
Not to be too like basic with it, I think it's the inner voice of the talking snake in all of us. That inner voice that even in a good life, we're being reminded the one thing we don't have. And there must be some neuroscience explanation for this, but like the idea that I'm going to lose sight of all this.
Sure.
Because they have this.
So what's the issue? Is there an issue with ambition then, and wanting more and wanting to there's nothing wrong with getting richer. So how do I fight this? What's the snake, and what's healthy growth and ambition and wanting to extend the kingdom, like the boundaries of my kingdom, and to be blessed and
we don't want to fall into apathy.
Yeah, right. We don't want apathy. We don't want lust. But so where does desire fit into this, and healthy desire, and how do we sort of discern those things, I guess?
Well, I think desire is a good thing to talk about. Like, so desire is made up of two things: object desire and object cause. So object desire is that what you want. Object cause is the struggle to get it, right? And so all perceived meaning comes from a function of the object cause, not just the object desire, right? So in other words, if you created a world where you just got everything you wanted, you'd hate it. because there's nowhere to attach meaning for dreaming and imagination and strategy and aiming and pulling something off. And, and if you create a world where you never got what you wanted, you have pointless struggle, right?
Sure.
And so meaning is a function of those two things. And this is why most things in the world are getting way better, except for juvenile depression and anxiety. That's going up, which is unthinkable to an 80-year-old. Their life is infinitely better. They have infinite more things, infinite more access to entertainment. An 80-year-old can't fathom why a 9-year-old would be stressed, right? Well, one of the reasons is perceived meaninglessness.
Yeah, lack of real struggle.
Yeah, they don't have to struggle for anything. The parents give them everything. Like Dave Ramsey was ranting the other day about these parents who were made X amount, not broke, but not a lot. And they were trying to strategize on how to send their child to an out-of-state school that cost 4 times more than the in-state school. And Dave was like, strategy, tell the kid no.
Right.
And he did that. He went,
novel idea.
Yeah, right. And so, because when you create a world where everything's, you think it makes their life better, but it actually creates more perceived meaningless.
Yes, yeah. Well, you see that. I mean, just working in retail. I've worked in retail many times, and I would sell running shoes. And I remember I was being a runner, and I would look at running shoes online, and I want these ones, and Jillian Cornette is running in these, and that's awesome. I want to buy these. I get excited about it and save up some money and buy these running shoes. But when you work in a running store, every rep gives you a pair of running shoes for free every month. And you end up with 100 pairs of running shoes, and they become like, I don't want it. It's worthless. It's meaningless.
Right.
And a new pair of running shoes is so unexciting to me now. And I can't tell you the last time. And like you said, without the struggle or the object desire, there's something building inside of you.
The object cause,
The object cause, sorry. Then, there's it didn't feel like I got the thing that I didn't struggle for that anymore.
Well, the metaphor that the Genesis writer uses for all this is, and it's subtle because it's kind of far away in the text. It says, so Jacob gave him a bowl of lentils, which are just tasteless beans. And so one rabbi said it this way, for what did Esau trade his life for but a bowl of beans? It's so to use the running shoe metaphor, at some point, if there's no object cause attached to it, no purpose, no why before the what, no identity before the action, if there's none of that, it's like, oh, man, I thought I'd die without that. It was beans. Yeah. Said every person who's ever had an affair. It's like when it blows up, it's like, oh man, and boy, beans. Or they get the credit card bill. And they're surprised. Like, this is a universal thing. If you're feeling guilty about this, do not. I'm trying to be broad enough with the examples. Yeah. Like, how many people look at the credit card statement and it's a number, and they're like, where did I spend that? Yeah. And then their first thought is, no way. No way. But those credit card companies are never wrong. They're audited weekly, right? And so I'm checking this, right?
It's line by line.
So you got the thing. I spent what on what? Yeah. And then you realize there was a certain amount of that was like groceries,
sure, right?
And you got to have that. But there was a certain line item, and you're like, man.
You're being gracious. There's many line items.
It's just, that was beans.
Yeah, that meal was unnecessary.
That shirt, beans. The car, beans. The trip. Yeah. I thought, although I will say, just psychologically, outside of things being right or wrong, if inside the category of, what do you call it, like, when you have money to burn,
excess.
inside of wasting money, experiences far outproduce things.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So like if I bought you some running shoes,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
But you and I go into the Phillies game the other night.
Yeah.
You can't take that from us.
No.
There was a good moments there. It was fun. It was right. And so buying discretionary income. That's the word that was sitting in the back of my brain. So I try to, with discretionary income, I try to purchase experiences with me and my friends, instead of just handing them things.
Sure.
Because the experiences stick.
Oh, that's good parenting advice as well.
Oh yeah, experiences over things. Like Larry and I were talking the other day. Like we went to so the Baltimore Orioles made it to the American League Championship against the Kansas City Royals. Baltimore Orioles played the Kansas City Royals, and I just thought that'd be a cool experience because I happened to be here. So got us like 9th row seat, something stupid, right behind home plate.
Right.
And but we still talk about it now. And so we were talking the other day, and I wonder when that was. It was 2014.
Yeah.
And we still
12
there's a few moments from that night that we still clearly remember and clearly, and it was just an awesome thing. But what you don't want is at 87 to just have a mouthful of beans
right
for your whole life.
Exactly. And that's a birthright.
Yeah.
Like that memory, that time together, those experiences, it's something that lives on with you.
Yeah.
The beans are gone.
Yeah.
But the experience, like you said, is something far more.
Yeah. Beans come and go, and I think that's a great metaphor from the writer of Genesis that we could frame a lot of different ways, philosophically, object, desire, object, cause.
That's Pete Rowland's, right? Object, desire, object, cause. If you want to go deep into that, a great philosopher that's worth reading.
The book he wrote called The Divine Magician, where he frames one of the meanings of the gospel as being set free from the pursuit of the sacred object. That Christ sets himself apart in the sense that in Christianity, your object desires the presence of God, and the object cause is Jesus. You can't get to that except through him. Yeah. But then Christianity flips the script, and they say the fullness of God is found in Christ. So Christianity is a tradition that says, well, my object desire and my object cause are wrapped up in the same person, which creates an eternity of meaningful exploration.
What he said.
Yeah, that was.
It's really good. You should go read it.
Very brilliant.
It's a little dense though.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, so funny. Yeah, I was just finished a book on Pat Conroy, but he essentially writes a very similar story. It's a book. It's about a suicide really of a girl, but her parents are Holocaust survivors, and you kind of think, well, what is it about Holocaust survivor and somebody who was called a Judenrat, and people who have experienced the most horrific things come through it.
Yeah.
Be successful, but then all they want to do is give their daughter everything. They don't want her to experience anything, and she's the one that commits suicide.
Yeah,
because and it's an exploration of that struggle. And what
they live through the pogroms,
right?
And the Holocaust and World War II, and then they respond by giving their daughter everything, and she's the one in despair.
And they just could not understand how can you be sad? You don't understand. You haven't experienced any hardship, and that's exactly it.
That's the point.
That's the point. It's wow, bowls and birthrights.
Yeah. So instead of the summary of what we're talking about here is that my encouragement to anyone listening is that if you've only considered what's right and wrong, it's very easy to absolve yourself from certain responsibilities because you haven't done anything wrong. Mm-hmm. The much better filter for decision making is, does this belong to the temporary or the permanent?
Yeah.
Or metaphorically, to this bowl of stew or to the birthright? Or what happens is when we trade our birthright for the bowl of stew, it's actually going to leave a bad taste of beans in our mouth. And so when it comes to this trip, that thing, that car, the rationalization would be, is anything wrong with that?
Right.
Well, no, but does it belong to this or that?
Yeah, I like that. One of the ways you phrased it in the past that I found helpful is just simply asking, is this wise? Is this helpful or unhelpful?
Correct.
And not just in the short term. Is this going to be helpful for me in the long term?
Yeah.
Or is this really $20,000 going to be best spent on a back trip backpacking around Europe, or can I invest this $20,000 and maybe experience much greater financial freedom in the future?
Yeah, that's right.
So the temporary, or exactly.
Yep.
Man, thank you for your time, Shane.
Easy.
Always love your brain, love your insights, love your heart. Thank you so much, people. Make sure you hit that like button, share, and subscribe. We will see you very soon. God bless.